Kisses. This video goes.
Hi. Hello? Hello? Is this thing on? It must be on. You guys didn't think I knew that I was on, but I knew I was on. Come on. What? I'm the one running the show. I don't think we're doing well as a country.
You should be careful what you ask for. Cash flow, everyone around.
And it's fine. You know why? Because I'm here. And you're here. We're here. Hello, humanity. Find yourself as we wait for the mega millions. As soon as I win that, I'm done with this streaming shit. You guys know that, right?
And now it's time to play everybody's favorite game.
Jesus Christ, we can't run.
Yeah. What up. So I just finished doing post-game stuff with my good friend D. Macus. And then I come over here on Good News Travel Fastest. And I just react to stuff on the internet. If you are easily offended, I welcome you right now. Bow out. I wouldn't mind. I won't be mad at you. Nothing. What I don't want is this is an adult zone. I talk politics over here. I talk pop culture over here. I talk rap. I talk sports over here. So I can understand if any of that bothers you. And I say that only because I like to have adult conversations. You feel me? You did. You feel me? Because there's still a whole world out here that's happening outside of my sports interests. And God damn it, we're gonna talk about it. I'm crying. In the glove box. Anyway, how's your Tuesday going? Mine's going swimmingly. The Nuggets won. Mega Millions. By the way, I'm telling y'all right now, if I win Mega Millions, if I win the lotto, I'm not doing none of this shit with y'all niggas anyway. Huh? Oh, it's just me, huh? You guys are too sophisticated, I know. You motherfuckers don't gamble. You only gamble on sports. Right? Beast. Anyway, I don't even know where to start. I kind of know where I want to be. Bring out the beast. Engage in this mayhem. Where'd you go? Come on, bitch. To blast the bystanders, to the rage as I... Okay. All right. Thank you, FL. Thanks, FL. Food chain music all day, every day. If you know me, you know who, you know why. I am Oren Lamenta, though, for those that don't. So this. I tried my best to think about everything in the world. Oh, by the way, shout out to the Boston Celtics for ending Cleveland's 15-game win streak to start their season. Listen, I can't stand the Celtics. But you know what I dislike more than the Celtics? The city, the happening that is the city of Cleveland. I can't use that word. It's such a hot button issue. The dumpster fire. There, I can use that one. The dumpster fire that is Cleveland. I wish that nothing good ever happens to that town. Because it's Cleveland. It started really with LeBron James. That I just drew this unquenchable thirst to see them fail. I like Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell's quite a player. I think they're working on something there in Cleveland, to be honest with you. And I don't care. I don't care. I just get such a charge. I just get such a charge out of disappointment and despair, just ravaging that town. I get up in the morning for it. I wake up every morning and I like roll out of bed and I'm just like, I wonder what terrible thing happened in Cleveland. That's not true. Could be. Might be. But it's not. So, oh my God, Nancy Mace, you stepped in it, you crazy, crazy, crazy Nancy Mace, you crazy, didn't you know crazy? By the way, how sweet is the relationship between Coach Prime and Pearl? How sweet is this? This is what life needs to be. We need more of this in the world. We need more
one thing that
just
has never wavered is Peggy's commitment to the Colorado Buffaloes.
sweet, normal. When I say normal, I'm not talking about.
Better, you know, you just following it. It's just part of your life.
She's so cute. Oh. I had a real bad thought.
They have their
when I was
pom-poms, they
watching
love to
this
cheer.
earlier.
I'm telling you, they'll be here for
Her
another
twin
90 years.
sister.
Unbelievable ladies.
We just have a loyalty. We're
So
the
cute.
Colorado natives, and that's our school.
That's our school. Let's go Buffs. God damn it.
You look at her and you're like, this is a fan. This is the people that we're playing for.
Give me my theme music.
So adorable. Happy birthday, Miss Peggy. For sure. We're going to get you to that bowl game. I love the relationship
To
that
you, it's
Coach Prime has fostered with her. I think it's the best of what, I think it's the best of 100. By the way, let's not scoff at a C note. That's a life well lived. Many of us can only so hope. Now, I've already known, for me personally, I'm probably going to live to be like 140, 144, somewhere in there. I've kind of gauged it out. I know I'm going to be an insufferable ass old bastard. You insufferable old bastard. We can only hope to get 100 years out of it. I got a couple of centurions in my family. It's just it's just tight. It's tight. You know what I mean? I think that to see a guy like Prime, Coach Prime, and the dichotomy between him and Boulder is one thing. Just that social dichotomy between what is quite possibly the blackest thing that Boulder, Colorado has ever seen happen. Just this whole, the well-off media shift, the whole thing, and it's good. I'll tell you why it's good, because we don't have to know each other. We don't have to know each other's experiences or completely have experienced the same things coming up to find points where there's just a common interest. And sports oftentimes does that for us. And so that's why we love sports, because it's a chance for all of us to come together. In a time fraught with different reasons for us to be divided and divisive, and sports can be that spot. And quite honestly, I learn a lot from watching younger athletes now. You know, we're used to, I'm an older cat, you know what I'm saying? I'm about to be 52. And we're used to seeing, you know, the sports rivalries that are like snarling and guys don't talk to each other and don't come in my locker room and all that. But these young cats are like, they approach it differently. They're all like kind of homies, you know what I'm saying, off the court. I think Ant 5 is the only guy you see in the NBA who's kind of got that old kind of throwback sort of. I'm not fucking with none of y'all. At least not while we're on the court. I'm trying to take everything from all y'all, which is what you hope you get, the best in competition. But they're just a different breed, you know what I mean? And it shows like this togetherness. We need more togetherness. Oh, he's sweet. He wants us all to be together. He's sweet. I'm also a realist. And it's going to get way worse before it gets better. But sports is a good place where we can all, you know, step away from clunking each other over the heads politically and culturally enough to just come together and enjoy a game before we fight it out in the parking lot, right? Before we grab sticks and chains and have gang fights in the parking lot. For that, just for that 3 hours that we all get together inside and we're all cheering. And even if you're cheering for your team and I'm cheering for my team, we're really just cheering for good competition. Ah, if only we're that simple. So anyway, I'm a father of 3 daughters. I got to be honest. One of which is my youngest, when she told her my youngest she's a beautiful child and she's experiencing life through her own lens. I got to be mindful of how I approach some of these things. Anyway, my whole point has always been to protect, I think as any man would want to do, the people in your life, including the women. So, needless to say, I wasn't a huge fan of the bathroom bill. I wasn't. And I'll tell you why. It's not because of trans, not trans anything. It's because I don't trust freakazoid men. I'm not talking about trans men or trans women. I'm talking about the type of guy that would know that, oh, wait a minute. So, all guys have access to women's bathrooms? So, because there's all different stages of trans. This is why Democrats are so... Oh, geez. Because you don't need to think about, in this case, the best case scenario. Think of the worst case scenario. It's pretty basic. We do this in a lot of areas. You know why they put sometimes locks on doors? Because of the worst case scenario. Not because of the best case scenario. Oh, somebody will just come in and want to say, hey, neighbor, what's going on? You're like, oh, nothing. I was sitting in my house. Here you are. You just opened my front door. That's cool. No, I don't even know who you are, but that's awesome. Then there's the guy who opens the door like, give me all your shit. It's like, well, luckily I had my deadbolt on. So now you're on the other side of the door, and now I'm shooting back. Right? It's the worst case scenario that you want to map out when you live in such a wild and crazy place as America. So I didn't have a problem with the bathroom bill because of trans anything. It was because I think about the worst case scenario of some deplorable human being that knows, well, I could be at any stage of trans, right? Because you can't tell me that I'm not. Have you seen some of these dudes? It's ma'am. Have you seen some of these people? There's a couple of things. It's ma'am. 5 o'clock shadow, lipstick, whatever. Not my business. Not my business. Handle your candle. Whatever your scandal. It ain't got shit to do with me. That space that is for ladies, though, now we have a problem. Now there's an issue. Right? Because, well, I don't know what your intentions are when I see you and you got on a baseball cap. Maybe you got on a little eyeliner or whatever. A little lip liner. But you're still 5 o'clock shadowed up and you just want to beeline into the female's bathroom. And this was a conversation that I've had with plenty of people who are advocates of or were advocates of the piece of legislation when Obama passed it. When did Obama pass that bathroom bill? I'm going to have to get my trusty dusty assistant up here. I use ChatGPT, but she talks to me. Her name is Vale. I named my ChatGPT Vale. She had a British accent. She's a lovely person. Let's find out exactly. Let's get Vale in here. Find out exactly when the bathroom bill was signed. Shall we? Before I get to the meat and potatoes. The meat and taters. Hey, Vale, how are you?
What's on your mind, Oren?
I wanted to know, what year did President Obama signed the bathroom bill into law?
Actually, President Obama didn't sign a bathroom bill into law. You might be thinking about guidance issued by his administration in 2016.
Same.
It directed public schools to allow transgender students to use bathrooms matching their gender identity. This wasn't a law, though. It was a directive based on Title IX protections. Does that clear it up?
That does clear it up. So help me understand then. This is good. Help me understand what the because I know it bled into Title IX and you got men and female sports, but the bathroom aspect of it was you said it was a guidance. It was a guidance that was signed. So there's nothing legal about it?
Exactly. You've got it. The guidance issued by the Obama administration wasn't a law. It didn't go through Congress. It was more like an interpretation of existing laws, specifically Title IX. Title IX prohibits sex-based discrimination in federally funded education programs, and the administration argued that this included protections for gender identity. Because it was just guidance, schools weren't legally bound in the same way they would be under a law. However, non-compliance could risk losing federal funding. That's where the tension came in. When the Trump administration took over, they rescinded the guidance, leaving it up to states and schools to decide how to handle the issue. It created a lot of debate around rights, safety, and federal versus local control. Does that make sense?
It does. So when it comes to schools, it was just schools, or was it other public places? With the dispute that Nancy Mace is having, and she's definitely going for or having it enacted on Capitol Hill and then looking to extend it to other. How does it factor into other public spaces?
That's a great question. The Obama-era guidance specifically targeted schools because Title IX applies to education institutions that receive federal funding. It didn't directly cover other public spaces like parks, government buildings, or businesses. Those are usually governed by state or local laws, or in some cases by other federal statutes, like the Civil Rights Act. Now, someone like Nancy Mace might be pushing for federal legislation to regulate bathroom access in more universal terms, potentially extending the rules to other public spaces beyond schools. If enacted, it could set a national standard, but it would also face significant legal challenges because public spaces outside of education don't fall under Title IX. It would require a new legal framework entirely. So it's a big leap from schools to broader public spaces, but the debate is all about balancing federal authority, individual rights, and public accommodation. Do you think Congress will tackle this effectively, or does it seem too polarizing?
It's definitely very polarizing, right? I mean, the way that the scene is set right now, and with the recent election results, I think a resounding rejection of some culture war platforms that were set forward by the other side, the losing side, whether it's men in women's spaces has become, or let me say this, biological men in women's spaces has been a hot button issue. That's going to be okay. So with that as background, let's see now what Nancy Mace is chattering about. What's all this chatter? What's all this chat here?
An extremist. So if that being a feminist makes me an extremist, I'm totally here for it.
Hold on.
Left last night, I filed a resolution. Hey everyone, I seem to blow up the radical left last night. I filed a resolution that would ban biological men from women's private spaces on the Hill. I'm just getting started, and I've already nowhere near stopping, and the death threats that I'm receiving now aren't going to stop me either. So I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Come at me, bro. Or bros, in this case.
Oh.
I'm not going to take your threats for an answer, and I'm going to fight like hell for women and girls to keep men out of women's private spaces, to include bathrooms, restrooms, locker rooms, changing rooms, you name it. You are not welcome.
Oh, That's pretty definitive. Let's see what this message is, because she was all over the place.
Fighting to protect the rights of women and girls. A radical
She's
left
got that
is
power
calling me
walk
an
going. That's the power walk.
extremist for being a feminist, fighting to protect the rights of women and girls. If being a feminist makes me an extremist or a bigot or a monster, I am totally here for it, because I'm going to fight like hell for every woman and every little girl across this country to protect you and keep you safe.
See, I could have said something super sexist about. She's got a good. She's wearing a great bra. She's wearing a very capable bra.
The left is calling me an extremist for being a feminist, fighting to.
I'm no Nancy Mace, like, cuck or anything. It's like I've heard the name. I know somewhat of her, but
protect the rights of women and girls. If being a feminist makes me
a hard walk that she's putting out, the hard
an
walk.
extremist or a bigot or a monster,
That's
I am totally here for it, because I'm going to fight like hell for every woman and every little girl across this country to protect you and keep you safe.
I like it. We've been having this conversation slowly, and it breaches into sports, my sports life, because a large part of the conversation is men playing and females. How do you protect women's spaces if you can't? So the only reason why I started there is because then after all of that, pobrecito, I saw this. Well, first, this guy. Libs of TikTok is a parody account, and they're hilarious. This dude who dresses up as a woman and won a congressional seat is very mad that women don't want him using the women's restrooms on Capitol Hill. Sarah McBride is a male who doesn't belong in a women's bathroom. Now, Sarah McBride has done a good job. Libs are having a hard time at making the case when it just comes across so crazy. And that inspired this person.
This video goes out to Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, I hope that one day I do find you in that women's bathroom and I grab your ratty looking fucking hair and drag your face down to the floor while I repeatedly bash it in until the blood's everywhere and you're dead. Thank you. I hope that Nancy Mace receives this message well. Kisses. This video.
I don't think people, let's step off of this for a second. I don't think people understand how social media and all this thing is starting to work now, which is it's recorded on the internet forever when you say stuff like that. And your minor meltdown, I was just being, cheeky. I'm all about freedom of speech. Say what you will. But you got to be careful with the threat part, right? Because it's recorded on the internet. So I saw one earlier. This girl. Oh, please, where did I save it? This young lady. It's just, she says, she calls this guy, she drops an N-bomb on this dude, and then she realizes, she's like, oh no, you're that guy. Hold on, I know where it is. Y'all are getting caught in 4K with all your bullshit. You better listen. I'm a paid professional. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm here. I know I know what I'm saying and to whom I'm saying it. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this stuff. I will keep it moving. Because here's the long and short of it. I think we have to return to common sense. Just common sense. And that's not a hard place. That's not a hard place for us to find ourselves at. Common sense, common ground. Don't want to affect anyone. But you see this person. When you see this person's act, I'm just going to play it again, Sam. We're just going to play the hits one more time. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, extremely mentally disturbed person? By the way, what the fuck is wrong with Joel Embiid? We'll get to Joel Embiid in a second. when people like this have access to women's spaces, you can kind of see why it's kind of like, yeah, you know, maybe we need to pump the brakes a little bit. Maybe not everybody. Where'd my guy go? Oh, here he is. When people like this,
Congresswoman Nancy Mace, I hope that one day I do find you in that woman's bathroom and I grab your ratty looking fucking hair and drag your face down to the floor while I repeatedly bash it in until the blood's everywhere and you're dead. Thank you. I hope that Nancy Mace receives this message well. Kisses.
I had a conversation on these airwaves. I mean, on Twitter, just with back and forth with some people about it. And I'm like, I think we just got to get to a place where common sense. It's like some people are definitely having a situation that needs to be tended to, feeling like they're born in the wrong body, and there should be respect paid for that. And I believe it accounts for like 0.019. I saw the figure before, percent of the population that really qualifies as trans. 0.019. Keep it in mind. And then there's a large scope of the culture, I think, because we're in this internet very easily influenced world. I think there's a large, and then there's been studies to maybe look into, you know, autism and the ties into that with certain feelings and claims. And I don't want to ever say claims because this is how somebody's feeling, so you want to be respectful of that. But, you know, when I was young, I thought I was a dinosaur. No, legit. I thought I was Godzuki. Legit. Remember Godzilla? Okay, I'm dating myself. There used to be a cartoon for Godzilla. Up from the depths, 30 stories high, breathing fire, his head in the sky. Godzilla, and Godzuki. I could show you better than I could tell you. Watch this. God. And I thought it was Mechagodzilla. Well, Godzilla cartoon. First I thought I was Godzuki. Yeah, this guy.
Up from the depths, 30 stories high, breathing fire, his head in the sky. Godzilla, and Godzuki.
I thought it was him. I literally did. I would stay up. This is probably the I thought it was that guy. I thought it was Godzuki because I would stay up Friday night into Saturday morning trying to catch Saturday morning cartoons. And Godzilla used to come on dumb early. It was like Saturday morning cartoons. The first ones you'd catch would start about 6 a.m. And it would be all kind of little off-brands, but then like right around, about 5 a.m. they'd start. And then those would be the off-brands. And then like there was Land of the Lost and shit like that would come on. But then around, 6:37, Q*bert, Godzilla, Amazing Spider-Man, like all the dope shit would start coming on. And then it'd fill your whole morning all the way up until 9 a.m. And then at 10 a.m., All-Star Wrestling would, you know what I mean? This is all precursors to WWF, and then WWF came along. And so I was just, and I think I would stay up I would stay up, like, when I grew up, TV used to go off. Like, TV would go off. You know what I mean? Like, it would stop. There was no TV. We'd get color bars, and they'd play the national anthem. You get color bars, and then it'd be like, but then it would crackle back on when the Farmer's Almanac show used to come on. Straight up and down. This is, 3 channels, and Channel 2 and Channel 31, so 5 channels. Oh, and Channel 12 and Channel 6, so 7 channels, 8 channels. Right. And so I'd stay up all night, though, Once I would watch TV until TV went off, and then I'd play with my G.I. Joes or whatever, and my whole point was to see the sunrise. I knew when Farmer's Almanac came back on, I was home free. So by the time Godzilla came on, I was delirious, and I thought I was Godzuki, is all I'm telling you. And if my mom would have, she even bought me a Godzilla. I didn't think I was Godzilla. I thought I was Godzuki because I thought I had to grow older to become Godzilla. So I thought I was the baby. Is that square? Right. Kids think they're a lot of shit. Transformers, cars, ducks, dinosaurs. So you just want to make sure that you're, not doing or acting on anything that might be the whim of a young person, is all I'm saying. And in this, there's a fascinating book. First of all, there's The Tipping Point. These are books that I recommend here. I'll show you guys some great books to sort of explain just the landscape of what we're living in. Because we're just living in a time, what a time to be alive. But we're living in a time that is unlike any other. A time like none other. I would recommend, first of all, where is it? Stolen Focus. Stolen Focus by Johann Hari. This book details what exactly the social media era is and has been, and what they knew that it would be. How susceptible they knew that the human mind would be. Fascinating book. Super well-researched, in-depth, just gives you a background on how influenced, it ain't no joke how influenced we have been by this era of social media and everything that comes out with it, right? So the apparatus themselves are one thing and how they operate, but then there are delivery systems for what? Well, for all manner of belief. And if you think that if you can draw a correlation between the explosion of alternative lifestyle, I guess you would call it, like the LGBTQ plus. I think that's what we're calling it now. You can just draw a line between that and the explosion of social media. And you could say, oh, well, they just happen to coincide. Okay. Social contagions, how do they spread? Probably through social media or being so tied in. Never before in the history of mankind had we had access to so many different people's way of being and thoughts. Just more different ways to be what? Influenced. So I'm just saying, maybe it's something to look into. Because another great book, Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point.
Leg up once they began elementary school, spreading pro-learning values from watchers to non-watchers, infecting children and their parents.
This particular chapter was about Sesame Street and the effect that Sesame Street had on learning. Fascinating. If you haven't read The Tipping Point, or you haven't, I read books by listening to them. If you're like me, like a book can't hold my attention nearly as I'll listen to a 10-hour book in 10 hours. Like eat it up and then go back and listen to it again. So, how little things can make a big difference. The Tipping Point. He's also got another one called David and Goliath. And Malcolm Gladwell I think he's a great social scientist of an author because he definitely covers things like social contagions. Anyway, my point is that we need to look after people in ways other than just affirming everything that it is that comes out of their mouth. Sometimes you're dealing with someone who might just need a little more care than just, what do you want to do? You want to chop? Yeah, sure, chop. You know what I mean? Because this person doesn't seem like they've been looked after properly.
Goes out to Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, I hope that one day I do find you in that women's bathroom and I grab your ratty looking fucking hair.
It seems there's something, you know what I'm saying? There's a bit of a break. Because this isn't normal behavior for anyone. You're putting the threat of your crime on tape, sir. Ma'am. Fuck.
And drag your face down to the floor while I repeatedly bash it in until the blood's everywhere and you're dead. Thank you. I hope that Nancy Mace receives this message well.
Pretty sure. If that was your hope, the FBI and the Capitol Police were tagged in this post. So you're already having a break, a disconnect. And there's a whole another thing is, I think it's time that we start having a serious conversation about how we talk to each other online. And I'm a snarky motherfucker. I got so much snark. I got enough snark for all of us. I think it's time that we look into that. Because you're playing with your freedom. You're playing with fire when you're talking about sending threats at people online. Just stitched in the annals of forever for everyone to see. Good talk.
Greatness. Catch the ball. Drop the baby. Catch the baby. Don't drop the motherfucking beer. Now, if that ain't a father, I don't want one. When you wake up today, you got to be all about that greatness. Catch the ball. Drop the baby. Catch the baby. Don't drop the motherfucking beer.
Come on.
Now, if that ain't a father, I don't want one.
Your boy excelled at all of it. Look at this guy's face. Look at this guy's face. This guy's like, you are my hero. He's got on a Jackie Robinson shirt, and he's looking at him like he just saw Jackie Robinson. But when you run it back.
When you wake up today, you got to be all about that greatness.
Barehanded. Now, here, he has one hand on the beer. The baby is holding his forearm, ball in hand. Already, this person got a glove behind him. All these people. It's something that we have with baseballs and baseball games. It's everything to catch a fly ball, which I've done at a baseball game. Shout out to me. That ball now in the wind. I don't even know where it is. San Diego Padres, Todd Helton. Foul tip. Right down the third base line. Pow, barehanded that bad boy. Yep, just like this guy.
Catch the ball.
Baby is kind of being cradled now in his other arm. But there's a point.
Drop the baby.
Drop the baby.
Catch the baby. Don't drop the motherfucking beer.
Motherfucking beer. And look at the baby. And the baby's happy. And look at all these. Hero. He's a god. He's a god. Almost dropped the baby. But he didn't drop the baby. And he caught the ball and he's caught his beer. You, sir.
Not bad, meaning bad, but bad, meaning good.
Way to go, neato, gang.
This guy.
Way to go, neato, gang.
Yes, boy.
Good on you, man. Good on you. You did the damn thing. And for that, you get that round of applause. Back to the NBA. Shams Charania.
Something happens last night, then I dig up a bunch of stuff. What is that particular news that you're chatting about, and is it reportable?
Yeah, I literally just put it out as soon as Joe Douglas was getting fired, so it happened in simultaneous moment. But last night, the 76ers had a team meeting. This is a team that's 2-11. They're in a free fall right now. Obviously, when you get Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, Paul George together, a 2-11 start. This isn't what you're expecting. And last night they had an hour and a half long team meeting in that post-game locker room in Miami. And I think a lot was said, a lot was accepted,
many things were said, a lot was accepted. Many thoughts were shared. A lot was accepted.
Aired out, coaches saying we need players to practice harder, show more attention to detail. Players saying we need to be coached harder. We want to be coached harder.
Isn't it kind of crazy, like, how much it takes to get millionaire professional gymmers to just play professional gym? It sounds like the hardest thing to get. We want to be coached harder. Fine. Great admission. But it's like, you get paid. And I'm not pocket watching. I'm just saying you get paid a ton of money to play pro gym. To be good at pro gym. And you were already good at pro gym. That's how you got there. Now, schemes and defenses and plays and all those things, yeah, but coached harder?
But most notable of all that, Pat, I was told Tyrese Maxey, the 24-year-old young star, he challenged Joel Embiid, the face of the franchise, the former league MVP, that we need you to be on time for team activities.
Damn! Not the call out. Not the call out.
And saying that there's a trickle-down effect. When you are missing, when you are tardy, when you are late for what I was told everything was
oh, Joel be on that CPTZ.
The line. It has an effect on.
Who's laughing in the background?
Saying that there's a trickle-down effect. When you are missing, when you are tardy, when you are late for what I was told everything was the line. It has an effect on the rest of the locker room, the rest of the players, the coaching staff. And yesterday, Joel Embiid was listed doubtful most of the day. Teammates, coaches, no one really heard from him. And then he shows up at warm-ups, plays in the game. They had a double-digit lead, great lead in the first half, completely 180 flip in the second half. And from what I'm told, it was kind of like this. Big fella is someone that Tyrese Maxey loves, but this was the elephant in the room, and Tyrese Maxey addressed it. They're very close. They're very close friends. They hold each other accountable. But last night, Tyrese Maxey delivered a message to Joel Embiid that I think a lot of people saw coming for a really long time in Philadelphia. And
there's no question. Has that been a question for any of us? Joel Embiid might be the biggest Jake. He might be the. Let me think. Because when I say Jake, I'm talking about a guy who, obviously the talent's there. He's so talented. Why is it so hard for you to play pro gym, bruh? Why does it take so much to get your ass engaged and then over being hurt and your feelings and you whine for MVP trophies? Like, this one is a blight on every single person that said Joel Embiid deserved an MVP. I hang this one on y'all. On all you sorry ass achievement award equity for inclusion in the conversation ass. By the way, hating on my man Joker. I hang this on all y'all. The Shaqs, the Paul Pierces, all y'all. Let me see if I can find a montage of people Joel Embiid deserves an MVP.
So according to in early February,
Gilbert
in
Arenas.
early February of 2022, he was the betting favorite to win the award. By the end of the season, he found himself at a familiar spot, second place. What happened? In the 2021-22 season, Embiid made a strong case early on for the award. In December and January, he averaged 29 and 34 points.
December, January. So basically the early part of the season before the All-Star
game. On top of this, Philly was winning. Their record in early January was several games above 500, as opposed to the Denver Nuggets, whose win total was less impressive. Speaking of Denver, Jokic had kept the Nuggets afloat.
Hold on, man. Did that win
In
total
early
say what
January
I thought it
was
did?
several games above 500.
So they were 7 games over 500, and the Nuggets were
as opposed to the Denver Nuggets, whose
1
win
game
total
over
was
500, which neither team was leading their division at the time, I would doubt. Right?
less impressive. Speaking of Denver, Jokic had kept the Nuggets afloat with their second and third best players injured. Joker was a monster, averaging 26 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 assists in the first 3 months of the season. He was sitting on top of the MVP leaderboard, but once early February rolled around, Embiid snatched the top spot away from him. NBA media members were split on who to pick, but many leaned towards Embiid for his superior team record, his defense, and the fact that he was doing it with his second best player sitting out. Many believe that once Embiid took first place, it would be a permanent grasp. After all, the only thing that could stop him was an injury, right? Yet, fast forward 3 months, and Nikola Jokic was the king of the world. So what happened? How did Joel Embiid lose the award again? And what did Nikola Jokic do to capture his second straight? On February 4th, 2022, Joel Embiid officially overtook Nikola Jokic for the top spot on the MVP ladder. On this date, the Nuggets stood at 28 and 24, while the Sixers were 31 and 21. This was following a 5-game Sixers win streak, to go along with a 3-game Nuggets losing streak. A key moment that impacted this race was the Sixers' acquisition of James Harden on February 10th. The Sixers traded for a star in the beard. What this move did as it pertains to the MVP race affected the narratives and expectations surrounding Joel Embiid. First off, getting Harden now made the Sixers season a championship or bust. No longer were
two of the biggest postseason jakes going. Regular season stat stuffers. And that's really just for the beard, because rare is the occasion that Joel Embiid's going to even make it on the court.
they an undermanned team missing their second best player. Now, they needed to play like a championship contender, and had zero excuse to not perform like one. This also ended a narrative that was helping Embiid's MVP case. Ben Simmons was gone. All the memories of Embiid lifting the Sixers in the 58 games without Simmons were forgotten. Had Simmons stayed on the team and continued sitting out for the remainder of the season, the NBA media would have absolutely used it to uplift Embiid's case. But now, since he had James Harden on his side, the narrative of Embiid having no help was dead. As mentioned before, the later part of the season, particularly post-All-Star break, is the make-it-or-break-it stretch for the MVP. Philly went 16-8 in this period, while Denver went 15-9. This was where Jokic jumped to number 1. While on paper, one would just shrug their shoulders at these two records and say, what's the big deal? But the reality is that Denver exceeded their expectations, while Philly failed to meet theirs. Most casual fans and voters formed their opinion on a player from a select few nationally televised games, and Joel Embiid either found himself losing or being outdueled in these heavily anticipated matchups. 2 games that negatively impacted Joel Embiid's case came against Brooklyn and Milwaukee in March of 2022. Embiid first played the Nets on March 10th, where he got destroyed by Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving at home. Fans across the globe tuned into this matchup, with much of the attention stemming from the return of Ben Simmons to Philly. This could have been Embiid's chance to show the world why he deserved to be the MVP, but instead, his team lost by nearly 30 points, as he shot just 5 of 17 from the floor.
I'm telling you, no one shows up less in big moments than Joel Embiid. How can you be the most valuable player in the league when you're not the most valuable player in crunch time?
Fellow MVP candidate Giannis Antetokounmpo on March 29th. Embiid was thoroughly outplayed by the Greek Freak, even having his game-winning layup attempt smacked against the backboard by Giannis.
I remember that game. Get that shit.
Once again, it was yet another missed opportunity by Embiid to build his case up. Embiid outdueled Giannis in a 42-point performance 1 month prior on February 17th, but everyone had already forgotten about that. Giannis' 40-point game on March 29th was more valuable than Embiid's 42-point game on February 17th. Call it unfair or irrational, but the reality is that voters remember the more recent over the distant past. Jokic had lower expectations than Embiid due to his injured supporting cast, which is why all of his big games weren't held under a microscope like Embiid's.
But with an injured supporting cast, to keep your team afloat, doesn't that just inherently make you more valuable? If the guys who you need in your supporting cast aren't there and you're still able to keep your team in the race, aren't you inherently more valuable? That was always the measuring stick, right? Who provides the most value? Not who y'all like best or think would be a better story. Who's more valuable on the court?
The moment that swayed the MVP discussion in Joker's favor the most was easily the result of the head-to-head duel between Jokic and Embiid. In this March 14th Battle of the Bigs, the Denver Nuggets beat the Sixers in a close fight till the end. If you compare Jokic and Embiid's stat sheets, it's fair to say that one didn't vastly outperform the other. So why did this game help Jokic while hurting Embiid? The reasoning is simple. Denver won. Wins matter in this league.
Nuh-uh. Get the fuck out. In this league or in all leagues?
It doesn't matter the context. All voters see is that Jokic beat Embiid. There wasn't enough.
It's not even just that. It's the style in which they win. What was their
while hurting Embiid? The reasoning is simple. Close fight till the end. If you compare Jokic and Embiid,
13 rebounds, 8 assists, 50% from the field. Not a bad night for
Embiid's stat sheets, it's fair to say that one didn't vastly outperform the other. So why did this game help Jokic while hurting Embiid? The reasoning is simple. Denver won. Wins matter in this league. It doesn't matter the context. All voters see is that Jokic beat Embiid. There wasn't another game between these two to weigh. Embiid missed their first scheduled matchup in November due to being in the health and safety protocols. Following the humiliating March 10th loss to the Brooklyn Nets, Embiid was back down to number 2. In early April, following the Sixers' narrow loss to the Bucks, Embiid fell to number 3 below Giannis. The significance of head-to-head matchups must not be underestimated. Post-All-Star break, Jokic turned up his game to another level, averaging 31 points per game, 14 rebounds, and 7 dimes. The Nuggets finished the season gracefully, while Philly was sputtering, dropping from as high as the 2nd seed in early March to the 4th seed. Once the final MVP straw poll came out on March 29th, the race was wraps. In the NBA, the MVP straw poll is when all the voters submit who they're planning to select for the award. Jokic crushed Embiid, all but prematurely securing his 2nd straight MVP. This race is a prime example of how important it is for an MVP candidate to finish the season strong. Recency bias reigned supreme. Following the announcement, Embiid, the runner-up, congratulated Jokic, but claimed he didn't know what he had to do to win the MVP.
I remember this, and it's like, I don't know what else I have to do to win it. If that's your focus, you're already fucked. You know what I can guarantee you that Joker wasn't thinking about? Winning an MVP. He just played like one. And I would imagine that Joel's want to win an MVP is more financially incentivized than it was.
He felt like the media hated him. Supporters of him.
Who gives a damn if the media loves you, hates you? They don't even know Joker because he don't talk to him at this time. What they knew is that when you look at the dude, the production on the court, how it plays out for his team, he's a more valuable player for his squad than you are yours.
Him agreed, while his adversaries laughed in his face. Nikola Jokic said few words, accepting his trophy in his hometown Serbia. Surely this would be the end of the Jokic-Embiid MVP debates. It was already rare enough that the same two players duked it out for the trophy 2 years in a row. No way they'd do it again, right? Oh my god, can the scriptwriters come up with anything new? All that discussion of the past leads us to the present. The 2022-23 MVP race was the most intensely debated race of the three. Immediately, one factor that came into play by default was voter fatigue. Only 3 players in NBA history have won 3 straight MVPs in a row. Was Jokic going to be the 4th? Is the theory true that a player's chances lessen if they won 1 or 2 straight MVPs the season before? Someone who experienced voter fatigue after winning just 1 MVP was James Harden. In June 2018.
Yeah, but James Harden, it was easy to see because post-season success never followed James Harden. So it's just hard. going the next year. Be like, this was the year that they fizzled out first round.
James Harden capped off his remarkable 2017-18 campaign with his first ever MVP award. It was long overdue to most of his fans. Many of them felt strongly that Harden deserved the prior 2016-17 MVP that went to Russell Westbrook.
That's when Russell Westbrook had a triple-double god-like season.
In October 2018, before the upcoming season, ESPN writer Zach Lowe said that a James Harden repeat of the MVP seemed weirdly improbable.
How did those playoffs end for
Lowe wondered why
James
Harden
Harden
wasn't the favorite, and pointed out that many voters only gave Harden the 2018 MVP as some sort of a shrug. Lowe implied that the voters didn't like watching Harden play, and voted for him in 2018 because they felt bad he lost out on the 2016-17 MVP. Essentially, what Zach Lowe proposed here is that the voters for the MVP had ruled out James Harden for the award before the 2018-19 season had even begun. Despite having won the accolade the prior year, he wasn't even close to the favorite to repeat. This was extremely odd, especially considering that there were few signs that Harden's game was slowing down. Harden ended up being beaten by Giannis Antetokounmpo for the 2019 MVP, in a close battle that could have gone either way. This paragraph looks like damning evidence that voter fatigue played a role in Harden's 2019.
A James Harden repeat seems really improbable. Why is he not the overwhelming favorite? He finished second, ninth, second, and first in the past 4 seasons. What changed? But last year's win felt like a collective shoulder shrug from voters. Fine. Maybe you should have won it the year before. Your team won 65 games. We don't like watching you play, so please take a trophy and let's agree not to revisit this. If that's how MVPs are voted for, and it seems like it because what this video I'm quite sure is going to get to is the fact that Joel Embiid definitely did not deserve the MVP the year that he got it.
19 MVP campaign. Harden experienced voter fatigue in his attempt to win 2 straight MVPs. So what about 3 straight? Fast forward to 2023. Following Embiid's second-round flameout to Boston and Jokic's championship, the NBA world had more tinfoil hats on than ever. Embiid's MVP was called a pity award and a sympathy MVP by fans across the globe.
Was it not?
So how accurate is this assessment? Did Jokic deserve it? And did he experience the dreaded voter fatigue? Similarly to past years, Jokic had a great start to the season, while Embiid opened up sluggish. The moment that catapulted Embiid's MVP case into mainstream status was his 47-point bomb in January. Against Jokic.
1 game? You guys are knuckleheads.
In their head-to-head. Embiid destroyed him and got the W. The cherry on top was Embiid hitting Jokic with a dagger step-back 3. It's as if Sixers fans had written the script for this game. It went perfectly for Embiid. Before this matchup, Embiid's MVP case was barely talked about. Afterwards, it was all the rage on social media. Spectators soon realized that for the third
This is why basketball is a joke.
Straight year.
I mean, literally, if your MVP is decided around moments as opposed to looking at who is the most, it's a joke. So you're telling me the NBA MVP is a joke?
They'd be subjected to nonstop bickering between these.
By the way,
Embiid's MVP case was barely
look at
talked
Joker's
about.
stat line.
Afterwards, it was all the rage on social media. Spectators soon realized that for the
47, 18 to 31. So you took 31 shots to get up 47. They won the game though. 4-7 from 3. 18 rebounds.
Third straight year, they'd be.
Joker in that game shot 12 of 16. 31 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists. You don't see that? You don't feel that? That don't feel like one guy jacked up a ton of shots? No, they won the game, though. All revisionists, they won the game. But if that's what the MVP season turned on...
subjected to nonstop bickering between these
That's
two
why your
games.
MVP trophy is a joke, unless it's being given to Michael Jordan or Nikola Jokic. It should never be a popularity vote.
Shifting to off the court, sports media members that you see.
Everybody. I just remember it. Joel deserves it. He deserves it. Not fuck. Did he earn it?
On TV, like Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins, and Skip Bayless, all hold immense amounts of power. Their voices echo throughout the NBA community and often influence.
Eye test. Joel Embiid for MVP. Analytics. Jokic for MVP. Stuff like this is why nobody respects Kendrick Perkins. We have to listen to him because ESPN won't take him off the air. How the fuck will the numbers be overlooked in... I'm glad I rolled with the eye test. I just look at it and I know what I see. You know how many dope basketball players you could give the MVP to based on the eye test if you're just looking at what you're looking at and not looking at how it factors into how the guy plays and what it means to winning?
Sports writers who have MVP votes one way or the other. Sixers fans and Embiid fans alike spend a ton of energy promoting.
Joel Embiid and James Harden are the two most disrespected players in NBA history. Are they? By what measure? People like to just say shit. That's what I was listening to a dude who's just like, the SEC, it's just better. Okay, by what measure? In case people forgot, Embiid was averaging 30, 10, and 4 as the 1 seed only 2 years ago. And how'd that work out? And the 6th seed, Jokic still won. In case people forgot, Jokic is averaging a triple-double, and the Nuggets are the number 1 seed in the West.
And advertising Embiid's achievements on social media.
Compilation of Raptors offensive plays on. Oh yeah, it was a whole job. It was a whole campaign to make sure that this dude didn't look like. And I was very disappointed with my people because I just felt like at a certain point in time it took a turn for not the white boy. I'm just keeping it a buck. I feel like at a certain point it took a turn for we can't get this white boy 3 MVPs in a row. It took the longest for them to admit that, hands down, he's the best player in basketball. Because it don't look like they want it to look. But I don't give a damn about none of that. It looks like how Nuggets fans want it to look. It looks like a guy who can hoop his ass off, and it bears itself out to winning. That's what it looks like. That's the eye test, Kendrick Jerkins. Reminder that during all of the MVP seasons, Embiid has had a better record than Jokic and all. And how did it turn out? Nuggets took an L. Embiid is the MVP. Let's get shameless.
Whether it was persistent haters posting Jokic lowlights or Embiid's personal trainer publicly dissing Jokic on Twitter, Embiid
remains the most talented dude in the game. Never seen anything like him. Still disappointed. He ducked Jokic. Oh, my God.
Supporters show no mercy.
I love the 47 and 18, 24 and 9.
In their minds, the last 2 years, more specifically 2022, were a sham. But seriously, how could some murmuring on social media possibly affect an MVP case? Usually it wouldn't, but once
he cried.
Denver started struggling in early March of 2023, the tide began turning. The Nuggets went on a 4-game losing streak, and one aspect of Joker's game that was put on blast was his defense. Suddenly, fans from all walks of the league came out of the woodwork to criticize Jokic's mediocre interior defense. His defensive lowlights were uploaded to Twitter and Reddit, and received hundreds of thousands of views. On top of this, Joel Embiid turned up his game to another level, breaking scoring records and hitting game winners like it was nothing. While Jokic was falling, Embiid was rising. Remember, the last month or two of his season post-All-Star break determines who the MVP is. A strong end to the season helped Jokic in 2022, but now, his less than stellar finish in 2023 was hurting him.
Yeah, because he didn't have a long postseason run before that. Well, they won a chip.
Narrative was starting to form surrounding these two, it being that Joel Embiid deserved at least one MVP from this 3-year stretch, and Nikola Jokic didn't deserve to be in the esteemed 3 straight MVP group due to his lack of playoff success.
It's really tough to vote a guy who hasn't even been to the finals as MVP for the 3rd straight year, given the historic implications of such a vote.
If you think this last point sounded eerily similar to what was being said about Giannis back in 2021, you'd be correct. One could argue that voter fatigue, recency bias, narratives, and of course Embiid's strong play all had to do with Jokic losing out on his 3rd straight MVP. Going back to media talking heads on shows like First Take or Uninterrupted, Jokic was public enemy number 1. Embiid was the king, and had successfully swayed the public opinion in his favor. This all happened in the matter of just 2 weeks.
This is why NBA in certain regards will always be an illegitimate exploit until they get serious about taking the game beyond this weird mean girl everything but what's happening on the court matters. I used to say the same thing about LeBron, to be honest. This is going to sound eerily similar to my LeBron take. You could just, there's a point in time when you could just tell that, I mean, like, if he's really that guy, you don't got to campaign for it all that hard. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, he's been to more finals than, how'd that work out? Any chance that he was doing this in a down Eastern Conference, which the Eastern Conference has always been the JV, everybody knows that. From the moment he came in, they were painting that dude as the next Jordan, and they were damned if it weren't going to happen. And it's just this weird, just let it happen on the field of play.
The icing on the cake to this madness was Kendrick Perkins coming out and implying that there was a racial bias when it came to MVP.
I have no patience for Kendrick Perkins, for Uncle Ruckus. At the time, Perkins asked why Redick didn't mention that only 3 players have been crowned NBA's MVP without finishing in the top 10 in scoring since 1990, noting they're all white. I remember JJ got in his brother's ass on this one.
I'm going to go ahead and apologize to Perk because I know that he doesn't like advanced stats, but often advanced stats inform us. They provide insight. They often reinforce.
Why do you think JJ Redick got hired as the Lakers head coach? Now, LeBron might have something to do with it. It's because JJ Redick knows basketball.
What we see. So they kind of complement the eye test. I know you're an eye test guy and you don't like advanced stats, but I might use a few here. I just want to react because I didn't hear this, the idea that his teammates shoot good or bad shots. So Second Spectrum, wonderful company, they installed tracking cameras in every arena 10 years ago. And their technology has evolved. And one thing we've learned from that is we can actually track which players create good shots for their teammates. And Nikola Jokic is top 5 in shot quality created. So if you watch them play, Perk, and I know you do, sometimes you might not stay up late on the Mountain Time Zone, but if you watch them play, when he's deciding whether or not to shoot or score, he's often making a read, because that's what good basketball players do. They make reads. So if he's getting a double, he's going to kick. If he sees the help coming too early, he's going to swing it to the corner. It's a good pass. What's the most efficient corner 3 in basketball? It's a corner 3. Look, Perk, I want to touch on something that they didn't bring up. This idea that Dirk and Steve Nash were favored to win the MVP because they're white. First of all, you stop short at 1990. That was your cutoff point for players to win MVP not in the top 10 in points per game, which is a stupid stat to judge MVP on. This isn't middle school. 1990, Magic won it. In 89, Magic won it. 87, Magic won it. 87, he was 10th. 89, he was 15th. 90, he was 18th. Okay? We judge MVP.
Kendrick Perkins is probably the worst thing to happen to, because he cartoonized, because he carried the hell on, and he's a catchphrase. He cartoonized commentating, analyzing. Now it's a cartoon. Okay.
Year to year. You also said the criteria or the goalposts change year to year for certain players. No, it doesn't. We vote on the MVP. Hold on. We vote on the MVP based on that season. We vote on the MVP based on that season. It is a regular season award.
Look at
previous playoff runs have nothing to do with it. It's a regular season award for the most valuable player. Dirk Nowitzki led the league in win shares in both 06 and 07. Led the league in offensive win shares in both 06 and 07. So yeah, he wasn't top 5 or whatever he was, top 10 in scoring his MVP season. The Dallas Mavericks were 67 and 15. They had the best record in the NBA. In 05, Steve Nash was the driver of the #1 offense in the league, a team that jumped 20 wins and had the best record in the NBA. In 06.
Now that one was, that probably should have been Shaq's MVP.
06 to me is one of the weirdest MVP seasons ever. You could make an argument Nash probably shouldn't have won it, but he was still the driver of the #1 offense in the league. The two best teams that year, the Detroit Pistons, 64 wins, the San Antonio Spurs, 63 wins. Guess what? They didn't have a top, their top scorers weren't in the top 20 in the NBA that year. So that was just a strange thing. You could have given it to Kobe. You could have given it to Shaq. You could have given it to Tim Duncan. They gave it to Steve Nash. It's not because he was white.
It was just a strange thing. It was just a strange.
Why did you cut it off at 1990 though? Because that was convenient. That was convenient.
I'm just saying. Hold on, time out. It was just a strange thing that it just happened. It was just a strange thing in 2006 when Kobe averaged 31. When he was playing with Kwame Brown and Smush Parker.
And what was the record that year? 42 and 40. They were 42 and 40.
How can you be the most valuable player on a team that goes 42? I love Kobe.
So let him speak.
So how can the most valuable player not, his presence not average out to a better than damn near 500 record? It's not who scores the most. It's not who looks the best doing it. If value doesn't equate to winning, there's no value in it.
He's the most valuable player.
Playoffs. They made the playoffs.
Every year from 2004 through 2012, the Eastern Conference sent 3 500 or worse teams to the playoffs. Making the playoffs can't be the distinction. The 8th seed makes it every year to the playoffs. You think an MVP is coming off the 8th seed every year? I'm quite sure they have somebody that's their most valuable guy. Kendrick Perkins is literally the worst thing that's ever happened to comedy because he's cartoonized it. Former players obviously are going to have the nod. But carry the hell on and all these catchphrases that they substitute for actually making sense when you speak.
With that roster, you take Kobe off that team, they probably win 8 games. Okay, so let's make that very, very clear.
You could say that about every best player on every 500 ball club.
Now, since you want to talk about when I was saying and preaching about moving the goalposts, the reason I asked that question was for the simple fact that what I'm saying is I don't know the criteria no more. I don't know if it's because it's the #1 seed. I don't know if it's the #6 seed. I don't know how you judging it. Is we judging off of advanced stats or who's the most valuable player? You take them off this team. We don't know. We don't know, but we do know this. Since you do want to bring it up, we do know this, that when it comes to MVP voting, 80% of the voters are white American.
I know racism is a thing in America. I've experienced it in my professional life. To advance the MVP, is it novel? Are my less melanin challenged brothers like, oh my God, yes, one of our guys is really good. Yeah, I'm quite sure they are. Did it stop them from snubbing Joker and getting fatigued? No. I would venture to guess that every year the MVP has been awarded in the NBA because it is a virtually all black league. Few of the voters have had a problem with voting for a black man. And again, if Joker were undeserving in these moments, and all this is now in hindsight, when you're talking about Tyrese Maxey having to take Joel Embiid to task. Because Joel Embiid is a Jake, and he never deserved the MVP that he got. I'm telling you that right now. That should have been Joker's third in a row.
20% are others.
This might be the most cringe take that Kendrick Perkins has ever had.
If only. It's the most memorable. But if only that were his most cringe take.
He brought up the few only times that white players have won the MVP, and he's trying to make a case that it's racist. Why?
Like, what the Oh.
Because they weren't top 10 in scoring. Like JJ Redick just said, Magic Johnson wasn't top 10 in scoring in 90, 89, and 87. But he used that cutoff point at 1990 to push a racist narrative himself that white players winning the MVP is only because of the color of their skin, not their team success, and not how well they're playing overall for the season. Kendrick Perkins has no argument here. He's just making stuff up and pushing a narrative because he knows he's wrong about Nikola Jokic stat padding.
Now let's talk about this year, and let's talk about the stat pattern. What I said was, I'm never taking anything from when it comes down to Jokic being one of the most skilled big, if not the most skilled big.
It's no one of the most. He is literally, quite literally, the most skilled big man ever to touch a basketball floor. I say that definitively, hands down.
That is good news. I'll be honest. That is good news.
I got this shit now. And I've always been a humble person.
To ever play the game, I would not allow Joel Embiid. I would not allow Giannis Antetokounmpo to be disrespected. Giannis Antetokounmpo is averaging a career high in points right now. Team has the best record in the league. Joel Embiid has had, I don't even know the numbers of 40-point games that he has had, but damn it, it hasn't been done since Shaq, and it's by a landslide, the number of 40-point games he done put up this season. And you can't sit up here and tell me that Luka and Embiid is not watching to see the point differential for us, who's going to lead the league in scoring. It happens, JJ, and you know it happens. So for you to come over here and say, oh, that's not who Jokic is. That's not the type of person he is. It's not in his nature. But
he's so sassy. It's like watching a fat auntie. He's got super auntie energy, and that goddamn tie is the dead giveaway.
Before Giannis did what he did 2 nights ago, did anybody think it was in his nature? KP. Did anybody know how he was feeling?
I want to just say something. Stephen A., I mean no offense to you, and I mean no offense to First Take, because I think this show is extremely valuable. It is an honor to be on this desk every day. It really is. But what we've just witnessed is the problem with this show, where we create narratives that do not exist in reality. The implication, what you are implying, that the white voters that vote on NBA are racist, that they favor white people. You just said that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That is
80-20 is what he said, right? 80% white voters to 20.
Exactly what you implied, Kendrick Perkins. That is exactly what you implied. Secondly, hold on.
I did not call. I stated the facts. And you're not about to sit up.
We all know what you implied the other day. We all know what you implied just now. Hold on.
I stated it's the facts. It's the facts.
The main point behind Kendrick Perkins' argument is that 80% of the MVP voters are white and 20% are other. He's saying that this is why they vote for white players that don't deserve the award. It's really weird that a bunch of racist voters would mainly vote for black players, except
year in, year out. Kendrick Perkins is a clown. And the fact that, like, Mike Breen and Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy, I'm pretty sure I know why they didn't bring Jalen Rose back, because Jalen Rose actually talks. He does what Kendrick's doing, but he's smart and he's articulate, and they don't like it. They like Kendrick around because Kendrick's a coon. This is just really what it comes down to. They like to be able to see. Look at Kendrick. It's like one of them cute, roll your head and pop your, they like Kendrick around because he don't even realize it. Kendrick doesn't even realize. He up here shuffling and cooning. He doesn't even realize it.
A few handful of times. And by that logic, most of the NBA is black. So that must mean that the league is racist towards white players because they don't sign them to as many contracts and there's not as many of them in the league. See how stupid that sounds? If Kendrick Perkins really wants to make the case that Joel Embiid is MVP, why doesn't he just say that Embiid is averaging way more points than Jokic and he's also a much better defender? Instead, he wants to say the voters are racist, Nikola Jokic is a stat patter, and make up fake narratives to help his case that Embiid is the MVP over Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic is just 100 times a better basketball player than Joel Embiid. Okay, 100 times might be a little bit much. Joel Embiid's a hell of a basketball player. Don't get it twisted. But you got to factor everything in. So let's get back to this. I don't need to see this no more. Let's get back to this. Not you, violent. What the fuck was that all about?
Now they go from here on what are the action steps. What will Joel Embiid look like when the team plays in Memphis on Wednesday? What will he hone in on the message that was given to him and really put that into action over the next week or so? We're about to find out. But the fact that Tyrese Maxey, their young leader, is the one that stepped up with this. He's not going to just speak out for nothing.
I love that from Tyrese Maxey, and obviously if the rest of the team felt that same way in the meeting, they would have said either yes or no to his messaging to Joel Embiid. Paul George obviously just got there, probably didn't feel as if he's the right guy yet in that locker room to talk about anything happening, especially with how bad the start of the year has been with him being on the team. So Tyrese Maxey just got paid though, didn't he, right?
Yeah, he got a max.
He just got paid, so he is a guy that is expected to show up for that team. So him looking at Olympic gold medalist Joel and saying like, hey, we need you not to be late. And Joel asked back for what? And then the team goes, everything.
All that.
That's maybe a nice like wake up moment.
That's huge.
That's maybe.
One can hope. I don't have a problem with Joel Embiid personally. Look at me. Tyrese Maxey to Joel Embiid when he gets back to injury and the Sixers. Look at me. Look at me. I am the captain now. You need to have your ass here on time. Look at Joel Embiid. I mean, you can say that in front of everybody, bro. You can say it in front of everybody, bro. You need to have your ass here on time. You're just gonna bust me out in front of everybody, bro. You know, the one thing that I hate that people are doing online is they'll hear somebody say something, like it's like a podcast or something. And somebody will say something that they think is profound, and everybody goes, What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Well, I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time beating up on Joel Embiid. I just think that I ride for my guys, and it's always been like it was, I probably hate on LeBron a little more than I should because I'm a mellow guy, and I'm a goddamn Joker guy, and this guy represents the other side of the coin. And I just don't think he's a better basketball player than Joker. He might be a better scorer in some regard. Takes a lot of shots to do it, though. Are you a better scorer if you got to jack up 31 shots to get 47 points? I'll take the guy who goes 12 of 17 for 31 every night. And also is going to get me 10 dimes and rebound his position and play better defense than I think he's given credit for. Here's something that interests me. God, are you serious? One of the greatest happenings in my life was sharing this movie with my daughters. And now they've made a live action version of How to Train Your Dragon. What?
When you carry this axe, you carry all of us with you.
Dad, I can't kill dragons.
But you will. I'm a Viking. I'm a Viking!
Hey, Toothless. That's your buddy. What's this, a buddy?
It's okay. I won't hurt you.
Don't. Whoever I have to thank for that. Thank you so much. Hopefully now that all the madness is over, Hollywood can get back to making good movies again. At least make the movies nice. If you're going to send us down in the depths into World War III, at least make the movie watching nice. Dion would 100% accept the Cowboys' job if they draft Shadur Sanders. Says who?
This is how I get my money. You know?
Yes,
I'm not
ODB.
ashamed. Don't you be ashamed.
There was a food stamp card that I had as an ID. And he didn't have one, but I had one. And it had my picture on it. And he put his face on it and used the same thing. He put
is that for real, the
36
story?
Chambers or ODB. He just fixed it up. And that's what was his album cover. And he just did that. And he's like, oh, I got a great idea, Shaquita. I'm like, really?
I thought that was his real food stamp card. By the way, one of the greatest albums in hip-hop history. One of the greatest albums.
I said, he gonna do that? I said, no, it's embarrassing. Because I was embarrassed to be on food stamps.
I never was ashamed of welfare. I love to be on welfare. I don't care. You owe me 40 acres and a mule anyway. For real. I wasn't asked to come here. You know what I'm saying? From a bad action, you're going to get a bad reaction. You know? You make a dollar bill.
Brooklyn Zoo? Shame on you. Did his numbers on Brooklyn Zoo.
And it's only paper. That's all it is paper. You know what I'm saying? And then you make us fight and kill one another over paper. That's how I feel about it. And that's how I'm always going to feel about it, man.
You know, there's a whole conspiracy theory that says that he did not just talking that shit during a time when they weren't really about you talking that shit.
John doesn't know. In nature, plants with pretty colors can also mean danger. All John could think was that these mushrooms were delicious.
That's that mushroom that it's for real. The something muscaria. You ever heard Paul Stamets? Real life super yeah, Amanita muscaria. Species of fungus commonly found in the wild, also known as the fly agaric. This mushroom has a distinctive bright red cap with white spots. Toxicity. Amanita muscaria contains psychoactive compounds including ibotenic acid and muscimol, which can cause hallucinations, nausea, vomiting, and indigestion. Yeah, I should try those. Take the psilocybins? Are you a fan of the psilocybins? I'm telling you. I swear by it. I think everybody should experiment with psilocybin.
Soon after.
Not even experiment. I think psilocybin science would be or medicinal applications would be a great substitute for like antidepressants and that whole pharmaceutical thing. I think this is Let your food be your medicine be your food. The herbs are for the healings of the nation, along that line. Less pharmaceuticals, more natural medicines. And I'm telling you, antidepressant science would do well. You know, obviously, pharmaceutical industry is loathed to let go of the death grip that they have on the whole Western culture's way of medicating itself and thinking about how to deal with its health. I think healthcare, quite honestly, is diet is healthcare. Like, I just ate a whole thing of Willy Wallaby's licorice. Now, I wouldn't suggest that for anybody, but I also eat a pretty healthy diet. But I'm saying diet is healthcare. And so the fact that, like, we're just so locked in, like, when I talk to my peoples and people are like, I'm so glad that I have healthcare. And healthcare is a huge, need. And I get it. You know what I mean? If you get sick or something happens, you want to be able to go. But the question is Western medicine good at things outside of mending broken bones? Like, how many cures, like, you know what I mean? Like, Western medicine, the success rate, it's almost like having a mechanic you trust, but you're always at the mechanic getting your car fixed. So should you trust him? You feel what I'm saying? Let your food be your medicine and let your medicine be your food. Seems like that's healthcare to me. A healthy lifestyle is healthcare to me. To me. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying personally. I think, especially when you go down the pharmaceutical route, like chemical compounds, pharmaca, specifically, not derived from natural medicinal property having herbs, strictly synthetics. Bad juju.
The toxins from the mushrooms invaded John's brain. He fell to the ground. A colorful mushroom in front of John's eyes.
When do you really need that mushroom?
Luckily, the rain came just in time. And brought the drowsy John to his senses.
That little nigga was high as hell. And I swear by it. The first time I took, and I used to be deathly afraid of having some weird bout of psychosis with hallucinogenics. But between LSD and psilocybin mainly, yeah, I'm really, it really changed my whole DMT too. Changed my whole outlook on how one should. First and foremost, it's not nearly as. I used to just be scared of the fact of losing self-control. I used to doubt that was going to be what the end result was. That you're going to see something, because I had a friend in college who had a really bad experience with acid, but he also didn't understand what he was doing and completely OD'd himself. But you can't overdose on acid. You can just take too much of it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's ever been a. Let's see. Hey, Vale, are there any recorded cases of people overdosing on acid, on LSD?
Hey, Oren. Cases of fatal overdoses from LSD are extremely rare. LSD has a very high safety threshold when it comes to toxicity. However, people have experienced dangerous situations or even death while under its influence due to accidents, risky behavior, or pre-existing health issues, not the drug itself. In medical literature, there are reports of individuals ingesting massive doses, like hundreds of times a typical dose, and while they experienced severe effects like seizures or hypothermia, they often survived with medical intervention. The real risks with LSD are more psychological, like triggering psychosis or panic, and the potential for harm in unsafe environments. What's got you curious about this?
Oh, just watching this bear eat psilocybin mushroom. Yeah, my homeboy Reg, he at a college party, they had liquid, just a straight liquid LSD, and he took like 7-8 drops and sent himself down a whole like 18-hour trip, engaged, but he wasn't right for about 2 weeks, but he sent himself down a whole 18-hour engaged, psycho reactive, psychosomatic trip, locked in a closet for a lot of it. Said that there were, I believe it was pigs or hogs with torches running around the outside of the house. It was, and that I was scared straight from there. I was just like, what? And I didn't even do it. That I was, yeah. But, took a long time for me to come around to the fact that, maybe this could help, or maybe it's something that I'd like to try. I'm not so. And then the first time I did acid was in Miami at Art Basel, 2019. And it was amazing. It was amazing. We rode around on top of a roachmobile, literally. We had the best time. And from there, I was like, oh, okay, that's what it is. And I was like, all right. Let me think. Now, truth told, though, that was after I had already done. That was after I had done DMT. Because I did DMT somewhere around 2014. And then shrooms was just like, oh, okay. And I'm serious, though. Now, this is the part where, I think that everyone would do well who feels like that, medication, like if you're feeling like I need whatever, Prozac or some antidepressant, I would suggest looking into psilocybin therapy first. I've also heard that what's it called? It's the one that's a horse tranquilizer. Ketamine. Ketamine therapy is something that people are, and I'm just, I'm really a holistic cat. I eat licorice still, but for the most part, I believe in, whatever we need, the garden provides for us. It's already been laid out. And when you just think about what the Sackler family was able to pull off with a painkiller, quote unquote, that was heroin, people probably would have been better off, literally would have been better off if someone would have just started having poppy fields and just get, you know what I mean? Not heroin run through the system. I'm just saying. I'm not saying anybody should do heroin. I'm just saying. We got to figure this part out. There's a lot of things that we got to figure. Like I started out, maybe it was in a bit of a heavy place. I'm probably chasing people away. I'm just going to talk about what comes across the timeline. And there's just got to be a better way in a lot of our arenas that we care for people. And I think big business tends to operate within its own best interest and call it, let's say, medicine. In both of these cases, whether you're talking about the trans rights thing or whether you're talking about medications. The one thing that you can tie in there is that big business sits behind the movement, pushing forward its own agenda to make more money. Is what it is.
If we went from 928 to 1929, they took events from the 800s, some of them, and made them 1800s. They took events from the 700s, made them in the 1700s. took events from the 600s, put it as the 1600s, all the way back to 928. They needed a history from 1929 all the way back to 928. So they took events like 492 and made it 1492. They took event 611 and made it 1611. They took some 700 events and made them 1700 events, 800 events and made them 1800 events to bag up this 19 they just went to from 928. People would say, wait, how did we go from 928 to 1929? They would never believe that. So they took us from 928 and put us at 1929 and started counting from here forward, building a history for us that goes back from 1929 to 928 to make it appear that 2,000 years have passed when really it has only been one. The true year is 1017.
I don't know about that. I'd have to look into it. The reason I highlight this, though, is that this I know about. We're also supposed to have 13 months and 28 days. That's just the 13 moon calendar when I found my way to it. Fucked me up. I'm like, wait, what? And then when you just sit and you do the math, so there's supposed to be, there always was before the Julian calendar. So the Julian calendar preceded the Gregorian calendar. And I'm pretty sure the Gregorian calendar was instituted somewhere around 1492. A lot of shit happened around when Columbus sailed the ocean blue by Pope Gregory. And before that, it was the Julian calendar, which was an ode to Julius Caesar. And they just took and, by then they had already adopted this 12-month wildness, that pays more homage to a flat circle, 360 degrees, than it ever was supposed to mark the year. And if you just do the math, a 13-month calendar of 28 days apiece equals 364 days. How many days are there in a year? Oh, 1 day. And then there was 1 day left out of time. Don't believe me. And the Ethiopian calendar, this person alludes to it. I use the Ethiopian calendar. Ethiopian calendar is like this, except the Ethiopian calendar, they have a month that is just 5 days, something along those lines. So they do the same 360 thing, but then they add 5 days. But it's still 13 months. And if you ask a woman who's paying attention how many menstrual cycles she has in a year, it's 13. How many moons are there in a year? They'll say, oh, it's 12, and then you get about, anywhere between 12 and 19 days into the 13th. There's 13 moons in a year. We are severely off course when it comes to our biorhythms and our connectivity with the earth because we've allowed people that do not have our best interests at heart to sell us bullshit as history. Me and my brother were talking earlier today. The Dark Ages, which, mind you, was the time leading up to before the Moors went up into Europe in 700. So the Dark Ages, I don't know. Well, I don't even have to worry about it. What years constitute the Dark Ages?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Our systems are experiencing heavy load. Please try again later.
What years constitute the Dark Ages?
The Dark Ages generally refer to the early medieval period in Europe, roughly between the 5th and 10th centuries. It started after the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 and lasted until around the start of the High Middle Ages, about the year 1000. The term Dark Ages is a bit outdated, though. It used to imply a time of cultural and economic decline, but historians now recognise that a lot of important developments happened during this time. It's more accurate to just call it the early Middle Ages. What about the period interests you?
When you talk about innovations that came in the period, how many of those innovations accompanied the arrival of the Moors in the year 700?
A lot of innovations during that period were indeed influenced by the Moors, who brought advanced knowledge and technology to Europe after they arrived in the Iberian Peninsula around the early 8th century. Their contributions were massive, especially in areas like science, medicine, architecture, and agriculture. For example, they introduced advanced irrigation techniques which transformed agriculture in Spain. They also brought the knowledge of ancient Greek and Roman texts, preserving and expanding on them, particularly in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Many of these texts were translated into Latin and eventually sparked intellectual growth in medieval Europe. The architecture of the Moors, like the Alhambra in Granada, showcased advanced engineering and aesthetics. Their influence laid some of the groundwork for the Renaissance. It's wild to think about how interconnected it all was, right? What aspect fascinates you the most?
Really the influence that the Moors had in civilizing Europeans.
That influence is remarkable. The Moors played a massive role in preserving and advancing knowledge during a time when much of Europe was fragmented and struggling. Their cities like Cordoba became centers of learning, boasting libraries with hundreds of thousands of books, while much of Europe had few. They introduced Europeans to advanced mathematics, including algebra, the word itself is Arabic, and scientific methods that were far ahead of the time. They also brought innovations in hygiene, urban planning, and even fashion, introducing cotton and bathing culture when many Europeans bathed infrequently. Their contributions didn't just civilize Europe, but also bridged the knowledge gap between ancient civilizations and the later European Renaissance. It's fascinating how their legacy still resonates today. Have you looked into specific areas like their role in architecture or medicine?
No, but I'm interested to see what influence they played in the European Renaissance. I mean, I know that in 1492 they were kicked out.
The Moors were a key bridge to the Renaissance. Their preservation and expansion of ancient knowledge from Greek, Roman, Persian, and Indian sources were pivotal. Scholars in Moorish Spain translated works into Arabic and then into Latin, which became accessible to the rest of Europe. This reintroduced classical ideas that had been lost in many parts of the continent. Mathematics flourished thanks to Moorish contributions. They popularized Arabic numerals and introduced algebra and advanced geometry, which became essential for European scientific and architectural advances later on. In medicine, Moorish scholars like Al-Zahra, a father of modern surgery, influenced European medical practices for centuries. The Renaissance emphasis on reason, inquiry, and humanism owes a lot to these earlier contributions. Without the Moors as intermediaries, the Renaissance might have taken much longer to bloom. Does that tie in with what you were hoping to learn?
A little bit. It leaves short though, like how was math with the Europeans and then lost and then reintroduced to them because of the arrival of the Moors? How does that? I don't understand. How does that square?
I see where the confusion is, Oren. Here's the deal. Much of the mathematical knowledge from ancient Greece and Rome wasn't completely lost to Europeans. It just kind of fell out of widespread use after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. With the decline of centralized institutions and literacy, there weren't as many scholars preserving or applying advanced mathematics. Europe became more agrarian and localized, so survival took precedence over intellectual pursuits. Meanwhile, in the Islamic world, including the Moors, scholars were actively translating, preserving, and building upon Greek, Roman, Persian, and Indian texts. They didn't just keep this knowledge alive, they expanded it with original contributions like algebra and trigonometry. When the Moors entered Spain in the 8th century, they brought this advanced knowledge with them. European scholars, especially during the 12th century, began translating Arabic texts into Latin. This re-endowment of knowledge was like turning the lights back on for Europe, sparking intellectual growth that eventually led to the Renaissance. Does that connect the dots for you?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks. What time is it? It's 12:54. I'm tie-tie. I'm going to go sleepy. I'll go sleepy and then get back at this tomorrow. But I appreciate anybody who rode with me. That was a nice little lesson, though. Nice little learning. Nice little learning to end things out. Yeah. Round of applause. Tie-tie. CB. Hey, CB. Okay. Bye-bye.
And now it's time to play everybody's favorite game.
Jesus Christ, we can't run.